may not be going well. Oh my, I'll talk about
No, you don't say. You don't say.
All right. So, in the wake of the Jim Ryan era of PlayStation, while he leaves behind a successful PS5 and a string of expectedly good first-party releases, attention now turns to Sony's stated super investment in live service games. Previously, they revealed it would be 60% of their spending as opposed to 40% going into their trademark single-player games, and they have at least a dozen titles in the works. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier is reporting that insiders are concerned about the company's vision going forward, where things are spread out between, quote, seemingly misplaced bets on service games, along with PSVR 2 and PlayStation Portal, both relative niche pieces of hardware.
Yep.
You don't say. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like we've been saying it, dude.
You don't
this whole
say.
time.
Everybody, it's like it's things.
Where's the
everybody's
Pikachu?
Been saying. Like,
where's that Pikachu like shocked meme? We're just Pika.
I mean, come on. All right. So, Sony currently has most of its big budget studios working on multiplayer live service games in one form or another, including Naughty Dog, Insomniac.
Who's having layoffs?
Who's having layoffs? Insomniac, who, I don't know, after Spider-Man 2, I mean, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Guerrilla, The Last of Us, Spider-Man Horizon fame, respectively. We already know about Naughty Dog's Last of Us Factions game, when that an additional report said that new hire Bungie believe it wasn't up to par when they surveyed the game's progress recently. I mean, Bungie saying that, like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's rough.
I forgot about Marathon. Holy crap!
Yeah, Marathon.
They got good games coming, dude.
Yeah, because this is the thing. That's one of their upcoming service games, right? Is Marathon. Like, it's kind of like
they're putting all their eggs in that.
It's their new IP, right? I mean, they need something after Destiny, so it's kind of like current live service behemoth Destiny 2, Marathon and Destiny 2, neither of which are PlayStation exclusives, even though Bungie is owned by Sony. How about that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
crazy.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny 2, I mean, I won't go too much of a ramble, but I mean, there's still a very much dedicated player base to Destiny 2.
Oh, yeah.
To this day.
Yeah, dude. I mean, how many times have you and I talked about how great that game is in terms of optimization?
I mean, yeah.
It's like, it's fantastic. Phenomenal.
Especially when it first came out, it was impressive.
Dude, so good.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's, a lot of stuff going on. There was apparently, I have a buddy that's super into Destiny 2 still, and he was sending me stuff about like, there was, I think, specific things in the game that were clearly broken, but there was rumors going around in the community that it may have been like on purpose to potentially try and like get people back and just have fun in the game, because it was kind of, I think there's a little while where it was kind of stale. There was a lot of that stuff going around, which I thought was hilarious. But anyways, yeah, I mean, talking about Bungie, you got these big service games coming out. The goal, of course, is to get live service games to print money indefinitely with recurring spending on seasons of microtransactions, as opposed to one-and-done single-player games that, at best, have a DLC or two. Of course, Sony's very obvious strength lies in these acclaimed single-player games, and these insider reports are questioning the enormous live service pivot, even if single-player games will still be produced. I mean, I think it's fair to be like, what's going on? Because because we said it too, their first party is their bread and butter. It's always been Sony's bread and butter, but now they're falling behind when it comes to just like services and all that. I could see in one aspect why they would want to push service more, because it's definitely their weak point. They don't have like they're saying kind of those big like, money printers that some of these live service games can be. So I mean, I can see that, but also at the same time, it's like you definitely don't want to lose your first party, right? I mean, I will say like something like Naughty Dog with Last of Us. It has been 3 years since Last of Us Part 2 came out, and I feel like by 2020, probably like into 2021, 2022 was probably when they wanted that Factions to come out, and then now it's plagued with delays. There's more layoffs. Who knows what that means for Factions? Like, is it gonna take longer to come out? Like, are they almost done, and that's why they're laying people off? We just don't know. Regardless, there's nothing to say that just because a company makes great single-player games that they'll be able to turn that talent into compelling live service offerings, even with a guru like Bungie on board. In fact, the opposite is more likely to be true. We have seen this play out multiple times in the industry. BioWare moved away from Mass Effect to make Anthem, That failed. So now they're back to Mass Effect. Crystal Dynamics moved away from Tomb Raider to make Marvel's Avengers. That failed. So now they're back on Tomb Raider.
Are they though? Because they laid off, like, Crystal Dynamics basically started gutting the team that's working on Tomb Raider. Remember that? Like 3 weeks ago, I talked about how Crystal Dynamics was doing layoffs. Now I'm concerned about Tomb Raider. And then the next week, they were like, we're laying off part of the team that's making Tomb Raider. It's like, what?
I'm like, what? It's crazy.
Help!
You get this, though. Gearbox moved away from Borderlands to make Battleborn. That failed, so now they're back on Borderlands. And I'm pretty sure we're getting a Borderlands 4. It's like in the works. There's a movie coming out next year. You know? So, are you sensing a pattern here, Mike? You know what I'm saying?
I'm sensing panic that we've been calling and raving about for the last, like, 2 years. And now it's, like, finally coming to the forefront of, I think, the mainstream media.
Yeah.
That just PlayStation and Sony are behind.
Yeah. I think if anything, it just proves how difficult it is to make a consistent live service game and how you really have to have good execution, because if it fails to launch, there's like really no recovery, right? Like if it's dead when it launches, it's like, good luck. But even if these upcoming offerings stay within the world of these games, i.e. The Last of Us, there are zero guarantees of quality or positive reception, despite whatever talented studio is on board. The most popular multiplayer games have either been doing multiplayer forever, COD, CSGO, Dota, League of Legends. I say CSGO, but it's really just Counter-Strike. It's kind of the broad stroke. Or sprang out of relatively nowhere, which is Fortnite, PUBG, Tarkov, Apex. Why are we talking about Apex?
Yeah, I was I was really wondering. I was like, why would you not mention Apex? That dropped without any announcement or teaser at all.
And it was fire, you understand?
Yeah.
Even Bungie cultivated Destiny from Halo DNA, a series that always had compelling single-player and multiplayer portions. I know Mike can attest to this wholeheartedly. It does. In those first 3 games.
Yep.
Taking these largely single-player studios and forcing them to do something that they've really never done in any significant capacity does not seem like a recipe for success. Diverting resources from likely successful single-player projects to chase a live server stream that does seem like a bubble that's about to burst. Or that burst has already happened, based on the failed titles that Paul has mentioned. And I think, much. Paul said he does not predict great things for PlayStation's live service plans, and it appears he's not alone. And like I think much of people are reporting, it's like, it's very very pessimistic outlook, I think, for most people on PlayStation trying to go into live service anyway.
Yeah, I think this article is kind of, I don't want to say like a monumental kind of thing, but I find it to be important because it's on Forbes, and they're finally saying the quiet bit out loud. Like Sony, they don't have the live service games. They don't have really a live streaming service that's up to snuff, at least against Xbox. Yeah. They're so far behind on against the Xbox Game Pass, it doesn't work anymore. Like I don't think they catch up anytime soon.
I mean,
Microsoft is so far ahead that they're giving live streaming services from Activision Blizzard games to Ubisoft, a company that is literally putting all their eggs in Assassin's Creed Mirage right now. And
Star Wars.
Also in Star Wars. And from what we heard right before we started recording, Mirage ain't that good. Yeah, apparently.
That's what I've heard from some
That's
sources.
Early impressions. But
it's I've heard it's kind of, I'm gonna wait to see more reviews, of course, but I think it's I don't know, it's looking pretty bland for the new Assassin's Creed release, which I will say, I mean, this is kind of in defense, but like kind of not an excuse. Like from what I understood, Mirage was supposed to be kind of the appetizer to what the next Assassin's Creed kind of leap is going to be, and like their kind of story and like where they're taking the game, because there's a lot. Because I mean, we talk about there's a lot going into Star Wars, but I do believe like the next couple, like at least the next Assassin's Creed title is supposed to be some huge kind of ambitious thing from what I've heard. So I try not to defend it, but it's kind of how it comes off. But I mean, just to hear that it's not that good is kind of a disappointment, because I loved the old style Assassin's Creed, and just to hear that it may not be what people are expecting is a little unfortunate. But I don't know. We'll have more. I mean, the game comes out. I mean, the game is out at the time of releasing this episode, so maybe there's more people kind of talking about it. I'd be curious to kind of read more about it over the weekend and everything. But it's yeah, it's looking kind of crazy. I mean, Ubisoft's in there, but I mean, think about PlayStation too, right? It's like you have they're behind on services and everything, but they've just made very questionable hardware decisions, especially this year. And it's like I feel
Yeah.
like this is probably a good reason why Jim Ryan's kind of just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily like fit to kind of try and steer the ship. And it's probably he's probably being overworked and he's being having to make 50 million decisions that it's probably no one man should make. So it's kind of just like maybe time to back it
Yeah.
up.
I mean, I don't want to speculate on what he does entirely because it's not really just one person steering the ship. Even though they're the
Yeah,
CEO,
yeah,
they have a team around him, and they also have like a board of directors that's dictating what he has to do. Um, and that's like high level CEO business stuff, you know. But in
right,
terms of the company as a whole, we can be a little bit more generic. Like PlayStation's just I I gotta tell you, the only reason to buy a PS5 in my mind is for the first party studios. And what do you got? Like Last of Us, Spider-Man, Horizon would be kind of cool. I don't really care too much for it, Horizon, but those two alone would make me really enticed to go out there and go get a PS5. Whereas if you compare that with something like Nintendo Switch, you get to play like all the past Nintendo games. Like right off the bat, I think their IPs are better than all the PlayStation ones. I know that's a hot take because the PlayStation ones are a little bit more mature and they're a little bit better graphics, some like good stories, but to me it's like the nostalgia of Nintendo and just like the feel of Nintendo and more of like a party game. Everybody can enjoy it,
yeah,
everybody can play, whereas PlayStation you might need a little bit more experience playing games. It's not very intuitive
right,
sometimes.
yeah, kid friendly,
And
probably not.
yeah, kid friendly, family friendly, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Nintendo knows what it is. I don't think PlayStation knows what it is anymore. I
yeah,
think they lost the plot, and I think if you compare PlayStation with Xbox, the two consoles, you have more opportunities to do what you want to do with the Xbox console. Like you
yeah,
got the Game Pass, and most of the games are also on PC. Some like they have way more indie developers that are being promoted by the publishers, Microsoft Studios, to like get on there for free, and
right,
like they
yeah,
put them on Game Pass too, and you can turn your Series S or X into an emulation machine for $20 single payment and a USB hard drive, like plug-in, and then all of a sudden
right,
you can
yeah,
play every game before 2005 with like
yeah,
modern hardware. It's like you can't really do that with PlayStation, you know?
right, yeah,
I just I feel like they're too far behind now. I mean, they make great hardware. They have the best controllers in my opinion. That's what I prefer when I'm playing shooters. I play Halo with a PS5 controller. So,
yeah,
it's like I'm not hating the hardware, I'm hating their decisions, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I could agree with that. I think it's yeah, it's just it's so questionable for PlayStation. I'm like trying to kind of think about what they could possibly do. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if they were able to dip their feet into the PC market, I think a little quicker than just like waiting a year or two down the line for a lot of the first party titles. I think it could certainly, potentially kind of help. I mean, if they, I don't know how the deals and stuff work, but I mean, I think getting you get the game in front of more people. I mean, I get there's a lot of PlayStations in the wild, a lot of people that do play on a PlayStation,
Yeah.
but for someone like me, it's like I have this great PC, and it's like I feel like it's getting harder and harder for me to justify going out and getting a PlayStation, especially with the rumors of a PS5 Pro kind of on the horizon. So it's
True.
yeah, and we'll see. I'll definitely reevaluate then, but yeah, man, it's one of those things. I really wish I was playing Spider-Man 2 this month. I'll say that. Like, it's a game, I really want to check out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so who knows, man? I
But
may be
not
more
enough to go get a PS5, you know?
right. I mean, it's hard for it's hard for me, and I think nowadays games can't necessarily sell me on an ecosystem. Like, if this game comes out, it's like, oh yeah, it's a great game. Like, last God of War came out just over a year ago now. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a great game, but it's like, I mean, I know it's going to come out on PC, and it's like, I mean, albeit it's a great game, it's like not really, it's still not enticed to go out and buy a PS5, But,
No, not really.
I mean, it's one of those things I definitely want to check out these games eventually. And also, I'm a little spiteful, Mike, I ain't going to lie, because Days Gone was a fantastic game, A lot of people
Yeah.
dogged it when it first came out. I understand. It had a very slow start. I agree. But
True.
it was one of my favorite games that came out on the PS4. And it's like, then when they came out and said, no, we ain't working on Days Gone 2 because you guys gave us no love on the first one, kind of thing. That's what the publisher pretty much said. It's like, it's just It hurts my heart.
Yeah,
Ben
I
Studio,
get it. That's
you hurt my heart. You know,
yeah.
it's
That's a
unfortunate.
capitalistic thing, right? Like you got to sell
Yeah,
in
and
order to
that's
justify
kind
the
of,
funding.
and I think that was a lot of the thing about why investors and stuff in the board of directors and stuff like that and Ben were kind of just like, yeah, we don't want to do that again because it just wasn't as successful, especially initially. So unfortunate. I wish that was a series that continued because if I'm not mistaken, I think it kind of ended on like it set up a sequel. But anyway, it's very unfortunate, you know.
Yeah, I think PlayStation will be okay. They have a really popular like Call of Duty market, really popular Madden market, NBA 2K, stuff like that.
Right.
Sport games. So they're gonna be okay. But I mean, like if you want to get into this live service, battle royale, competitive driven games where you need people making that type of money and like always contributing to the machine, making it go, like this live service stuff. It seems to be like the whole business model now. I feel like you gotta have that PlayStation. Yeah, have to have the PlayStation and PC coincide to get as many people to play as possible because that's how live service are popular. It's like it's a population driven genre.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you need people to play. That's why Anthem collapsed on itself. You know?
Game released like poop.
Yeah.
People did not want to play the poop.
Nope. So they stopped playing altogether and they did
Stopped
not
playing.
come back.
Yep.
They didn't come back. Bro, like when Forza Horizon 3 came out, and that's kind of a live service game, it's on Game Pass. I played that for like a couple of weeks. The servers were trash. I couldn't play with my buddy. He stopped playing. He has not played the game since. And then because of that, I'm like, well, do I want to get on and just like try to get my car ranked up and then play online and grind and then I have to deal with people that just want to wreck me? I'm like, it's a hassle. You know?
That's the worst, right? You're playing a game and then it gets to the point where you're just like, it's not worth it.
It's a job.
That's like when it's just not worth it. It's the worst feeling, man.
Bro, it's like me playing Diablo 4 trying to get my freaking mount. It took me like 30 hours walking around the world. Oh my gosh. I actually need to beat that game before the next season comes out.
Oh yeah,
But
it's coming
yeah,
up.